Hello, and welcome to Safe Space. This is a show dedicated to people in the LGBTQIA plus community. I'm your host, Chris Edwards, and today I've got another amazing guest. I'm just going to jump right into it and welcome Miss Kendala Fuller. Hello, Kendala, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, in full disclosure, Kendala is the stepdaughter of Miss Gwendolyn R. Houston Jack. And that's how we were introduced, and that's how we met. I'm so thankful for you to come and sit down and share your story with us today.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So let's talk about, how do you identify?
I identify as a lesbian, full blown, no other letters of the alphabet.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you are a wife and a mother of a 2-year-old.
And an 18-year-old. Ask me why we did it. I have no idea. But yes, I have an 18-year-old that just went to college and a 2-year-old who is a busybody. So never go.
People don't be surprised if the 2-year-old interrupts because she needs a little bit of attention, but we're here for it. We are here for it. So how we like to kind of start our conversation is take it all the way back to the beginning when you first realized that you were, for lack of a better word, different. You know, and not that you had the words for it back then, but you knew that you didn't fit into the quote unquote norm. So the floor is yours.
Yeah. Gosh, I would say I started recognizing that I was a little bit different when I was in elementary school. I was always wanting to play with the boys, running around and on the playground, chasing them, fighting them, jumping on the bars, and doing all the kind of tomboyish type things. And became an athlete. But I guess I really recognized that I was different when there was I had a little friend, and she had a birthday party, and we were all over at her birthday party. And of course, we're young, we don't know anything about, like, trying to be like the big kids and talking about, oh, I like this boy and I like this boy, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, I like such and such and such. I don't remember, it was so long ago. But I remember thinking, I don't like any of them. I like my friend more than I like anybody else. So, yeah, I think that was kind of the first step of knowing. We were just hanging out, and I found myself having a crush on her and not really understanding what those feelings were. So, yeah, I remember it's crazy because I had to be about in the 3rd to 4th grade. Say hi.
She wants to say hello. Hello, little one. How are you?
Yeah.
A little shy?
Yeah, we're camera shy. Yeah, so that was it. Like, just knowing I was a huge tomboy. It's funny because I think back to those days growing up. I was a big tomboy. I was athletic. I was wanting to be out playing basketball and jumping, climbing trees and stuff like that, all that type of stuff with the boys, and not really being very feminine. If you see me now, I'm a completely different person. I'm very, very feminine. Did a complete 180. But yeah, I was the kind of kid that followed the boys. Their stuff seemed more fun to me. Like, I'd rather do that than they put on makeup. So yeah,
Okay.
definitely elementary school.
How was adolescence for you? You know, going through puberty and, you know, coming into your own and the hormones and sexuality kind of like being introduced to you at that age, how did you react? And how did you react to all those during that time? I should say. How did you react to that time in your life?
So I think that kids these days have amazing time. One, being in the life is a lot more acceptable. You have more resources, a lot more places to go and find information. Growing up, I didn't have that information. Growing up, we didn't have the smartphones. I'm in the dial-up era, so chat rooms were just getting big, and chat rooms were just getting big. So I found that growing up I learned, I won't even say learned. My curiosity took me to the chat rooms. AOL dial up, the little chat rooms that were I can't even remember what platform it was on, but just little chat rooms, and I would find myself talking to other girl like being free because I was behind there was no video. Being behind the yeah, no, well, there was no camera. Just being
Yeah,
behind the scenes, just behind typing and not having to worry about, oh my gosh, they're going to see me and think XYZ. So being able to explore my desires or everything without having to show my face. So that's what I was doing. I would go on online to the chat rooms and kind of talk and find people who were like-minded, asking questions and, trying to really understand. Um, this is also in the phase of where being gay or a lesbian was not talked about. You might have one of those aunts that, it was understood that that was her friend, but that was that relationship. So I was very closed off to coming out because I didn't know how people were going to react to it. Um, So I had boyfriends that I dated. I had dated some amazing men in my life, even back as far as college. Um, but I always had a girlfriend, or if I wasn't in a relationship with a female at the same time, there was one that I was crushing on. I had been cheated. There were some bad guys that I would date as well, and I would be cheated on. I didn't care. It didn't bother me because my
yeah,
my desire wasn't necessarily with that guy. Um, but I had friends, and even to today, my best friend of 20 something years, we've been best friends since the 10th grade. I didn't tell her when I was in my youth because I was scared that I would lose my friend. After I
yeah,
came out in college and came back, she was mad at me, not because I was gay, but because we're best friends. Why didn't you tell me this? Like, why is this such a issue? Um, but people were being called out in school about being gay or lesbian or that bull dagger or whatever. All the derogatory terms would come out, and I just did not want to be labeled as such. So I kept a lot of my things inside, just kind of bottled up. The few of us that were in the lifestyle, we were all behind the scenes. We were all undercover. We all, kind of had our little group that we hung out with, and it was it. And it was only known to, I can count my hand of five of us who we were. And that was it. Nobody talked like there was the rumor mill. I was never the one on the rumor mill because I had so many boyfriends. Everybody was like, she can't be gay. There's no reason
right,
why she would be. But there were like two or three of us in the group that they speculate and talk about like whatever. But overall, it was such a hard time, especially in high school, because you never wanted to be seen as being different. You never wanted to be called out. You wanted to follow the norms. It's not be bullied. Unfortunately, bullying has been around for decades, and that was the biggest fear of people growing up, that if you're different, you're going to be bullied.
Right.
So it was very difficult, and not having a real mentor um, was kind of it was hard. I remember thinking back to really taking it back and kind of showing my age. Um, the Brat was one of my first celebrity crushes, and there was
Okay.
so many different rumors about her, and you know she likes girls, and oh my gosh, and in the back of my mind I'm like, that's freaking awesome. But at the same time, it was still speculation, and then she turned around and she claims, because even for celebrities it was really hard to be coming out as being lesbian, gay. She did the video where she, oh gosh, the I want to say the Tyrese video where she came out with the swimsuit, and I was like, oh man, well, like she just kind of threw off my fantasy because she had to switch it up to try to change her and help her image, so nobody was talking about her. But I
Right.
look back to those situations and I'm like, we did not have a mentor to help us through that process, help us through that
Right.
time frame. Um,
But let
and
me
it,
let me interrupt. Let me interrupt real
yeah,
quick because you brought up some really good talking points. I want to kind of go back and explore a little bit. Let me go back to where you were talking about, your first um, real opportunity to kind of explore, especially during the beginning of the internet age, was being able to go into like those AOL chat rooms. Um, what age were you when that started happening? Were you still adolescent, or was that like in college?
no, that was adolescence. I want to say about ninth grade, eighth, ninth grade. So that was gosh, 19, I said 2000, but it wasn't 19. It was 19, around 1997, 98, maybe. So
That sounds about right. That sounds
yeah,
about right. 'Cause I'm a little older than you, so I remember when the internet was it really became a thing.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, I was seventh, eighth grade around that time.
so that was really your first sense of finding community, and then just trying to find other people that you identified with. Now,
Absolutely.
what did you have the words at the time to specify what it is that you were, or were you just trying to figure it out?
I didn't have the words. I actually, at that time, labeled myself as being bisexual because I did not have the knowledge of knowing that just because I have this boyfriend, and he's kind of my beard, that I'm not really bisexual because I have no real attraction to him. Looking back, if now, if I were to say, if I was coming up in this day and age, I would know, like, that's what I am. This is just somebody helping me along so that I'm not perceived as XYZ. But back then, I labeled myself as being bisexual because of that. Um, I did, I did, I will be, I'm not so lesbian that I can't accept where I find men attractive, because if you're attractive, you're attractive. Like that's just goes for a lot. I know a lot of straight women who will say, to another straight woman, "Oh my God, you are absolutely beautiful." If a person is attractive, they're attractive.
Yes. Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that sexual desires, or not even sexual, but intimacy levels want are there for me to want to be with that person. I can look at you and think you're beautiful all day. Like my crush is Channing Tatum. I love him. But I that's as far as it goes. Like I can sit and look at you all day. You're absolutely beautiful. That's
No
all.
explanation needed. I understand and I get it. And I think that is something though that is really important to talk about and highlight, because I think a lot of people think that, oh, because you might be attracted to somebody or you find them physically beautiful means that, okay, well, no, that means you have to identify as this or that. No. I mean, we all have we can find people attractive, but it does not have to be in a sexual way, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I get that. Um, I want to talk about your, like the kind of like the crushes, and then I loved how you talked about where you were crushing on the brat, But because she wasn't out yet, and kudos to her and how she shows up in the world, and how her and her wife really bring a spotlight to relationships. Because there is a correlation between you and her, and I don't know if you. I mean, of course, it's obvious to you because you live it, but being able to be married to your wife, live an open life, and then also raise a family. Because people think that, oh, because you're gay, that either you don't want a family or you shouldn't be entitled to have a quote unquote traditional family. No, so I love that, you identify with her, and then also the fact that, as when you were growing up, when you saw her kind of switch to placate on the rest of the world, that was devastating to you because you kind of looked up to her in a way. Talk about that a little bit more, and then also just kind of really talk about the fact that you created this family.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. My wife and I, we absolutely love her and Judy. We talked about them the other day, and the hair product line for our little one or whatever. But anyway, um, to see the brat come full circle, and even not even just the brat, but Queen Latifah. These are the two
Yes,
two of the ones growing up that I really saw, and there was those speculations and them hiding behind their roles and their music and acting and everything. um to see them come full circle now and live in their truth, and to me it's almost literally how my life went, going from being one thing because of the expectation of everyone around me to now living in my truth and finding that living in my truth is so much more refreshing. Um, and when I say living in my truth, I'm going to be 100% transparent here. I do not being in the light and being gay, being lesbian, being bi, being anything is
being
a
yourself.
hard. It is hard. I don't wish it on anyone. I wish for them to be true to themselves. But if I could be a normal straight person, I probably would prefer to be a normally straight person because I don't have to deal with the ridicule and people staring and all the questions and why do you want that when you can have the like it's exhausting. It's completely and 100% exhausting. And the preference is to be normal. Nobody necessarily wants to stand. Well, I won't say that. People do want to stand out, but not to the degree where there's the hate crime. We're dealing with people that are literally killing and murdering us for just because of who we love. It makes a huge difference. Like nobody wants to have live with that fear. My son is bisexual, and it is my fear for him. Like you can't just go to any guy and say, "Hey, what's up?" And I live with in fear of him being hurt and bashed because of that. Is not something that I feel like most of us want to deal with. We deal with it because we are comfortable with ourselves and we want to be who we are. So these days are a lot more lenient, even though there's still a lot of people out there who don't understand it, who don't like it, who ridicule it, who bash it, Bible thump, and everything else. Um, but we live it, and we live it because it's the only thing that's going to be make us happy in the end. And I tell my son the same thing. What is gonna make you happy in the end? Just be careful. And to see this through the Brat and Judy and them developing their life, the whole process. I think their process. We actually, my wife carried our child, and seeing their process via television, social media, and all the different platforms, and actually living through the same process of IVF and insemination and everything. It was the justification that I needed. That we're this is what we deserve this. This is what we want. We deserve it. We it get a little emotional.
It's
Um,
okay.
it's doesn't make us any less than being lesbian moms. We are not going to love our child any less than a straight person. Um, my son, and he's not a product of being from a lesbian relationship. I just wanted him, and I went and had sex to literally get pregnant. So his journey was a little bit different than our daughter's, but not having to deal with an additional parent figure. The parents are my wife and me. I signed the birth certificate. I'm her legal guardian. It's it's it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference, especially when you have a partner that you want to do this, that is your equal, that you guys are 50-50 on, that you guys share in the same belief system. You guys have been together for so long, and this is something that you want to do together. It makes a huge difference, and it feels amazing. I, we've gotten a lot of ridicule about it. You shouldn't be raising a dog, like you shouldn't be raising kids. But when you think back to all of the straight people who have kids that don't treat their kids right, who don't have love, and all these kids in the foster system because they're not wanted or whatever, our daughter was wanted. Our daughter was legit built out of love, and she feels that from us every day. And I, watching the Brat and Judy, I felt that from them. This I had that justification that this is not just a us thing. This is something that our community as a whole is capable of. So
Right. So, we talk about how we identify, but I do want to, not that I'm correcting you, but I want to say something, and this goes out to everyone out there who has parents. Your parents first. Your sexual identity is second. So when you say, we're gay parents, I don't even look at you like that as you're lesbian parents. You're parents. You're raising children. You're raising human beings who go out to the world and be productive um, uh, adults and people in society. I think that society creates the label so that they can feel comfortable and then they can classify and rank us. Ultimately, we all come to this world naked and with nothing, and we're taught all of these things. And when we die, we will all leave the world naked, with
absolutely.
nothing. All right. You are a mother to your son. You are a mother to your daughter. You and your wife are parents. And it doesn't matter if you're straight. 'Cause you don't see people. We don't see and talk about straight people as, oh well, they're the straight parents with kids. No, those are the parents with kids. You guys are parents with kids, and that's just how I see it. And I do get it. In the context that we're talking, yes, you're a lesbian couple and you have two beautiful children, but ultimately your parents.
Exactly.
Speaking of parents, um, let's go back a little bit. How did you tell your parents, or is it just that your parents? I mean, most of our parents they know us, so they know. But how was that conversation, and when was that conversation had?
I was in college. I grew up as a military child, so we were stationed all over the place. And at the time of college, my sophomore year in college, my parents moved to Hawaii. So we're cross continent, literally. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. They're in Hawaii. Um, so when I finally decided that I wanted to come out and tell them, I was in a junior. Um, and my parents at this time, no, actually, no. My dad was in Hawaii. My mom was in Texas. This is right after their divorce. I completely forgot about that. Um, so I called, even still, Texas and Georgia are far. So the first thing I did when I was like, I just kind of need to get off my chest. I was dating Um, this woman who at that time, you probably have a lot of partners that you think that it's going to be long term or whatever. And at that time, I felt like she was going to be my forever person. And so I was like, I want to make a trip out there to Texas to see my mom. Let me call her and give her a heads up that I'm going to be bringing this woman along with me. So I called her and I was like, Mom, there's something I need to tell you. And she was like, okay, what is it? What's happening? And I was like, I'm gay. I have a girlfriend and, when we come out, I want to bring her with me. She was like, it is about time that you have said this. I've known for a really, really long time. Um, Apparently my best guy friend from high school and her used to talk about it all the time because he's the type of friend that would be able to just come in the house. He was like my brother, just walk in the house. Hey, mom, dad, like whatever. And they would talk about it all the time. And she was like, yeah, Donald and I used to talk about it all the time. We were just waiting on you to say something. I was like, oh, okay, well, if you maybe had said something to me about it, I would have been a lot more comfortable in going through this. But, she was like,
Can I
it
pause you
wasn't
real
my
quick?
time.
Can I
Yeah.
pause you real quick? Because this is a common comment that I'm getting from a lot of people that I speak with. You know, our parents know, they know, they especially our mothers, they birthed us. You know your child, and you know when you see things in your child, and from very early on. And a lot of the stories that I'm hearing is that, you know, I was just waiting on you. We're just waiting on you to tell us. And then the common response that we give is, well, I wish you would have said something because then I wouldn't have felt uncomfortable. But then, the question is, who is it really on to say? And if you really think about it, it's really on us to be the ones to say, hey, this is who I am. I think, when you have parents that give you the space um, to be yourself and to say who you are when you're ready, that's the true sign of a loving parent because they're giving you the opportunity to be comfortable with who you are and then letting them in. They know already, and they're either this you're just giving them confirmation, or you're just now in a comfortable space where you can actually have that conversation with them. So I just thought I had to stop right there because it's so common. It is so
It
common,
is.
and we're not alone in that.
It's not. I have a lot of friends that say the same thing. They're like, my parents knew, but they didn't want to talk to me about it. Um, and not to tell my wife's coming out story. Her parents didn't know and they didn't like it. So, there's so many different stories when it comes to this. And I feel as though, like you said, mothers are in tune to their kids, are very in tune. And I feel like the closer the relationships are, the more our mothers are able to feel your energy. I kind of knew when my son came out to tell me I had my feelings and whatever. My wife and I had discussions about it prior to him telling us. So, um, but what
That
I
proves my
do,
point right there.
yeah, and but I think for my son, me and my wife and our relationship gave him that comfort level to be able to come out to us at a young, I say young, but he really wasn't young, like 15. Um, but I would have never done that at 15. I would have never went to my mother at 15 and said, hey, this is what I like. And I
But
think
here's the thing though. There's a difference. He had representation. He saw it, so he knew he could be comfortable to talk to you about it. And that's the one thing that this generation of youth have that we didn't necessarily have growing up. Like they see
exactly.
it. It is on TV. It is in print. It is in social media. It's in government. So there's a sense of comfort to say, all right, I'm not alone. I see all of this representation around me. I feel comfortable. Yes, it's still scary, but I can feel a little bit more comfortable because I see it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like if, a lot of us older generation had had that growing up, it would have been a lot easier for us to step out of our comfort zones as well. So I 100% agree with that. And, you know, my mom was accepting of it. It was a phone call to my dad, and it was a very short phone call. My dad is a man of few words, and I love him to death. My mom was like, after I got off the phone, well, was about to get off the phone with her, she said, "Did you give your dad a call? Have you talked to him about it yet?" I was like, "No, I'm going to call him after this." And so call him up. "Hey, dad, I need to talk to you about something." He's like, "What is it?" And, I just came out and said it like I did to my mom. "I like women. I have a girlfriend and XYZ." He was like, "Okay. Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah." "Are you safe?" "Yeah, I'm fine." It's like, "Okay. Well, I'm kind of glad I don't have to deal with guys because I don't want to deal with that." And I was like, "Yeah, you don't have to deal with that." And I was like, "All right." And that was that. And that was the end of the discussion. Like, it was no more, no less. And he's been one of my absolute biggest supporters since. Both my parents are. My dad walked me down the aisle at my wedding. My mom is always there for me, a phone call away. My wife calls her when she's aggravated with me. Like, my parents are there for us, and it has been amazing to have that liaison. They may not 100% understand our style of relationship because it looks a little bit differently, but they understand love. And ultimately, that is what matters most to them, is that we have found love in the person that we're with.
So, you were fortunate enough to have parents that were very accepting, a mom that pretty much already knew, your dad just very soft spoken and a man of few words. You were very fortunate in that respect. But in addition to that, you have a blended family. You know, Gwendolyn is also your stepmom. And talk about that relationship that you have with her, just you being, you and your wife and your family. How's that complete family dynamics and how does that work?
So, it's funny. My dad and G, we call her G. My
Yeah.
daughter called her Gigi. They got married a month after we did. So we have all been married for 7 years now. I think their anniversary. Well, they'll be married 7 years next month. And so my dad and G, when they met, kind of was perfect timing. Me and my wife had been together, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years at that point. And when she came and I met her, and she's just this beautiful ball of energy. Um, that was always something that I was worried about. Now that my family is not together, my new stepmother, my new stepfather, whoever my parents are with, are they going to be accepting? Again, everybody's not accepting of our lifestyle. But from the moment I met her and felt her energy, I was just like, I ain't got to worry about her. Like, I already know. Like, she is just a beautiful ball of acceptance. Like, she's just so caring and so loving and so amazing to have around. Honestly, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have nearly as many of the images of my kids as I do, because she's our picture taker. I'm not a photo person. I'm a live in the moment, like really feel the energy type person, and really enjoying. Partly because I didn't have a camera back in my day. I didn't really care, whatever. I did the modeling thing, and I'm over it. Like, I'm at that point in my life where I just don't care about a camera. But she catches those moments for us and love it. Like, so she has photos that I've never even seen before. I was like, gosh, well, I don't even remember when she was this little, like, and then the graduation photos with my son, like, she is amazing. And it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have half the memories that I'm able to keep because of her. She's a proud grandma. Um, she loves the kids. She loves the kids. And she'll call us up just randomly. Hey, does baby girl need XYZ? Does she need anything? What can we get her? I'm sending her some clothes. I saw these outfits and oh my gosh, they're so cute. I just want to send them. And it's just amazing to have a stepmother care enough about a child that she's not necessarily biologically tied to in any such way, but still loves them as if she were. Um, and it's really a great feeling to be have it to be so accepting of us as a in our lifestyle. My daughter has three sets of grandparents: my wife's parents, my mom and my stepfather, and then my dad and my stepmother. And when I say she's spoiled, she is spoiled rotten. Like she gets it from every which way. And I love it for her because what one grandparent doesn't give out, she gets from another grandparent. Again, my wife's parents, while they're accepting of us now, they weren't accepting of us in the beginning. And they're more on the church side and church beliefs of things. And she'll get that from them. She'll be able to pick up, the Bible verses and songs and everything from that side of the family. Not saying that my side of the family doesn't,
I get what you mean,
but
though.
that's where she'll learn more of that type of thing from them. But
Yeah,
from, my mom, she's going to be the mom, the fun grandma. She's the fun grandma. She's the I'm gonna pick you up and take you to the spa type of grandma.
yeah.
And then she's got Gigi. And Gigi is going to be the grandmother that, she's down for whatever. Let's just say
Spoils
that.
her and gives her all the things.
All the things. So it's really refreshing because, like I said, having one side of the family that is not going to necessarily steer her in the direction of understanding our lifestyle, but also having other sides of the family that understand the lifestyle and are accepting of it. She'll get a
Right.
full view of what society in a whole she's going to
I,
be dealing with.
I was just going to say that your daughter is so fortunate. She's going to see every spectrum under the rainbow of people and families and family dynamics. And then, plus she already is whoever she's going to be. So, it's just a matter
She's a
of,
pair.
yeah, it's just a matter of, as she gets older to articulate whatever it is she's going to be.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So before we wrap up, I do have one more question. You are married, you've got kids, you've got a family. Um, how do you show up in the world? When you leave your house at the end of the day, are you comfortable walking through life and saying, "This is my life," and not really worrying about what others think?
I am, and to be honest with you, it took me some time to get here. I wasn't in the beginning. It took me a little bit of time, and luckily, I say that I found my wife at my time, at the right time. We were meant to be, but we were meant to be together at a specific time in our lives. One, because even though I was out to my family, it was still very hard to be out in the world when I first came out. Those close to me knew that I was gay. I was fine with that, but I hid it in certain areas of my life, like my career. I would never, my jobs never knew that my lifestyle. They just didn't know. And then also I would say I wasn't always comfortable with my exes to walk down the street holding hands. I still use the bisexual label for a little bit of time after I came out, just because it seemed to be more accepting to be bisexual than a full blown lesbian. But when I met my wife, I was comfortable, fully 100% comfortable in who I was, and being able to show the love that I had for her. We would walk down the mall holding hands. We would go out to dinner. Sit on the same side, kiss in public. All the amazing things that you do in relationships. But I was not necessarily comfortable doing those things prior to our relationship. So when I found her, I knew that she was the person because I was in my me moment, and it was beautiful to be comfortable in my skin as I was, um, and being free to do that. Now we walk like go out to dinner all the time. We host. My wife and I were on a television show at one point, called Women in the Life Atlanta, and it was just showcasing lesbian women who were doing normal things, who were on their in boss mode, and the things that they did with their life. It showcased, my wife and I going through the insemination process with our baby. It just was a really positive show. And I don't think that I could have done that show 15 years ago, because I was not in my me period to be comfortable with the world knowing the real me and what I was going through, and how my feelings. There were times that I cried on the show, and it was just a lot of it just shows my growth. It overall just shows my growth, for becoming who I am today.
Wow. Inspirational. That's the word I'm going to use for you. All right. So as we wrap up, what words of encouragement could you tell the people now that you've got them captivated? What are you going to leave them with?
I would say it's hard. Life be life in. We all know that. But in the end of the day, nothing in this world is going to change who you are. So live yourself to being yourself to the absolute fullest that you can. That's actually my wife and I's mantra. Um, our hashtag is living life to the fullers, because our last name is Fuller, but that's what it is, living our life to the fullest. We absolutely do all that we can, because you never know when your last breath is gonna be, and you can't be anybody but yourself unapologetically.
Yeah, I totally get it. Kendala, thank you so much for this conversation and spending this time with me and this whole entire audience that's going to view this. This is such a beautiful love story. And, when I say love story, I mean the fact that you found your person, you have family that are supportive, and that you have these beautiful children that you're putting onto the world, and they're going to become beautiful human beings. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Thank you
So
guys for watching. I hope that you found a little bit of inspiration, and you could even see yourself in Kendala today and her story. Like I said, I do this because I hope that it's inspirational for someone, and that someone can see themselves in the people that I bring on, and that it shines a light on us as a community, and then also gives you the courage to just be your authentic self. So with that, as I always close out the show, I say, take care of yourself, take care of others, maintain a safe space. Goodbye, everybody. See you next week.
I
Thanks for watching this show on Indecent Media. Now, if you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and hit the notification button so that you can get notified when we drop new videos every week. See you guys next time.